I wonder if you'll indulge me in something for a minute I've wanted to do for quite some time now.
Sure.
Gillian Pensavalle.
Joe Schwartz. Ba-da-da.
Na-na-na. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, welcome Gillian Pensavalle to my podcast.
Thank you, the famous Joe Schwartz, for having me. This is so nice.
Well,
We've been trying to get this on the calendar for like a long time.
a couple months, or at least a month and a half, it
Yeah.
seems like.
So I'm glad we're here.
Yeah, but wow, famous. I don't know about that. I'm
I
kind of
do. I'll say, look, I said it. You, no,
well.
I mean,
I
go
will.
ahead.
I will say. We got Obsessed Fest coming up, but I
We do.
will say, last year I was surprised by, um, when I went, how many people just recognized me from like TikTok or the Facebook groups,
Yeah.
or so it is kind of is kind of weird. It's something I'll never be be fully comfortable with, but because I'm just some guy who from Akron, Ohio, who I don't.
Yeah, but you're kind, you're supportive, you put yourself out there, you're making a show. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally get it. I think it's great.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate you doing this.
Oh my God, of course.
I was I was, and I figured this will go smoothly then when I met you at Obsessed Fest, because I have this thing. I know I told Natalie about this when I had her on, but I was excited to meet everyone, and we had that whole like meetup in the bar, the hotel bar, the night before all the
That was like
festivity.
Thursday night because Obsessed Fest is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Thursday night, everyone was like at the hotel bar. It just sort of, it wasn't like a planned thing. It's just sort of like where we
Yeah,
all kind of ended up.
but and yeah, it was one of those, and it was things I was hanging out with a couple of people, and you made your entrance, and
Well, don't say
I
that.
mean,
Like I was
I
announced. I just walked in to the bar.
I think your
So
co-host
funny.
Patrick made some announcement, or there was a
He said she's gonna hate this, and I was like, okay, please don't let it. Please have him be saying that about somebody else. But no, he sort of.
well,
But it's.
you didn't get the introduction that Rabia got, the lady of the fucking hour.
I mean, of
Yeah,
course. I mean, that was right. Oh,
that was right when
absolutely.
the big news with that non broke.
Yes, of
So
course. I mean that was absolute. That was so God mind-blowingly huge. And then they put together that panel with Robbie and Rebecca, like immediately. It was just, oh my God, so incredible, so incredible.
yeah, but anyway, I mean, there was a bit of a, I'll say like a commotion, like you knew like someone had arrived, and look, and then I saw bright pink on top of
Yeah.
someone's head. I'm like, okay, there's Jillian.
Oh no.
And
So you see how I'm sort of like shrinking? You're being very nice, and so I'm
yeah,
feeling small and embarrassed.
but when I was like, all right, like I definitely was looking forward to meet her. Let's go say hi. Um, I think it was my friend Katie who I was standing with. Like she said hi to you first, and then you turn and look at me. I'm just like, hi. Like my mind goes blank, and so, but yeah, this will go smooth. Then I remember running into you after a drag brunch in the exact same spot,
Yes.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
It was kind of,
That yeah.
but I would, and I'll admit this to you, my one regret from that weekend happened because I ran into you. I had, I said a few words with you again, and it was pleasant and all, but I had been waiting all weekend. I had wanted to get a chance to talk to
Yeah.
Damien Eccles, and I never like knew how to approach him because he had a security guy with him. I believe that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who was, sort of shadowing him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He and Lori had someone just, for
Yeah.
their comfort which I completely,
Yeah.
understand.
I mean,
Yeah,
given what he's been through, oh,
sure.
I
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
yeah,
But I kind of like I was one of those things like I don't know if it would be comfortable going up to him, but I know like people have been doing it all weekend. So
yeah.
and I saw him off to the side. I'm like, okay, he's talking with someone else. I'm gonna wait around and just say a few words to him. And then my mind went blank like that. I'm like, what am I gonna say to him?
I know it happens to me all the time with
So
everybody.
I just turned like I didn't get to say a word. I just ended up turning around and walking out.
Oh,
And
Joe, you're
so,
so sweet.
but yeah, that
But
was that was the one thing I was looking forward to all weekend, and then totally froze in the moment, not
yeah,
knowing what to do. So I got out of there before I made myself look silly.
no, I mean that's the beauty of that weekend. Like being saying hi to everyone and meeting everyone, and I loved saying hi to people, and like I just loved that, posing for pictures and hugging people and just doing all of that. And last year I was booked solid. Like I said the first meeting that Patrick and Steve and Natalie had with me, because like Obsessed Fest is Patrick's thing, it's on the network. TCO and me, like
Hmm.
I'm not part of any of that. So when I had the meeting of like, what do you want to do, and I was like, book me on everything, I want to do everything you're thinking of, like book me back to back to back to back. And they were all like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, because in my mind that was like, I was like, I just want to be with as many of the people as possible. And that was not the smartest idea, because while I did a lot of panels, it didn't give me like a ton of opportunity to be like out in the world. And so when I
Yeah,
was like, my friend Tyler, who was there, was just like, girl, like we're late, like we have to go to I was just booked back to back to back. So I did of course like meet people before, during, and after, and in the morning and in the evening and at Thursday at the bar, and all of that, after the drag brunch and everything. But this year we sort of had a conversation, because by the end of it I was like, I gotta recover a little bit. Like it was so, I just never been through anything like that. So this year, I'm doing a lot. Even they, like, I just had my first meeting about it, and they were like,
yeah,
you're doing it again. And I was like, well, no, you're right, I guess, because I want to be able to like mingle and hang out and go to other panels and go to meetups and
yeah,
things like that. So I'm excited to be like out there more, but that my intention was to be as out there as possible. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I just like put myself in a bunch of rooms back to back to back to back to back and set like an impossible schedule. But it was wonderful. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
you live, you learn, you figure out other ways to do things.
Yeah, well, I did catch your panel with you and Damien and Bob Ruff.
Yeah.
I did catch that.
I
Um,
was really honored to be asked to do that, because Bob put it together, and when he asked me to do it, it was so nice and generous of him to do. So that was really nice. I was lucky to be a part of that.
well, but going back to like when you first learned when Patrick sort of came up with the idea, because it was a good I've heard a good year and a half in the making. Or
Yeah, at least I would say.
yeah,
I think the timeline's a little murky, but it was like it was a spark, and then a kernel, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then
yeah,
uh
but I
yeah.
yeah, but he's got his book coming out. I think next week, right?
Yeah, so today's September 21st. It comes out this coming Tuesday.
Yeah,
What is that, the 26th? Very, very, very soon.
yes, yeah. So I know I'm sure he's going to tell these stories in his book, but I've heard him talk about on the podcast like he has a history of like trying different things and doing them for like a week, but then like no, backing out. So when he came to you with the idea of like I want to put together this weekend long convention festival, whatever, and was there a part of you like sure, like I'll believe,
No, I
or I mean what
I know when he said it.
I don't mean this to disparage him in any way, but just given
No,
him, yeah,
I know exactly how you mean it. Absolutely.
yeah,
Because it's so big, right? So
yeah,
like, what was I saying? Like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. The
yeah,
thing is, like, no, because at that point I had seen him have these ideas, and then make them and go and do and make, as we say on the Hamilcast, which we stole from Lin-Manuel Miranda, but like make the thing, to just like go forth and do it. I had seen that so many times where he was like, I have this idea, and before I really he had taken several steps, but he just wanted to see like my interest in it before he took more steps. Like Patrick, he'll do it with or without me. But he wanted just like my thoughts on it. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's great. I think it sounds really fun. Like if you need help or a sounding board, I'm here. And then I would just get updates almost when everyone else would, like ideas, or what, when he's promoting it on the show, sometimes he'll say like, oh, and then we're doing this thing. And when I say, really? That's real. Like I'm learning about it with all of you. So it's been a very fun ride to have the two perspectives of being part of the audience, kind of, or the listeners, of learning things as they're happening. And then also have a little bit of like, oh, do you think this would work, or would you be interested in doing this? But it's like his party, and he's, it's really incredible. Like if you think about that, how wild it is for someone to just be like, I want to put on this convention where this community that he's built like can come and hang, true crime, not true crime. And then he did it, and it's like, all right, cool.
I mean,
yeah, I'll get on a plane.
And again, like, not to disparage it, like because I've been the same way with something small, like starting podcasts.
Yeah,
like even this one, like I put out episodes just as I have people on, which is, I can go 2 weeks or I can go a month or months.
Yeah.
But I've had ideas for other podcasts. I've tried true crime podcasts on my own. I'll do it for like a couple months, and I'm just like I can't handle all the work on my own.
It's hard,
Between like looking up cases and writing scripts, and I was doing it. I'm like, you have each other, and you have a structure where you're going off a documentary.
We're very fortunate in that way, that we're not writing and scripting and researching, that we are just we're recapping this material in front of us. Granted, it's still a ton of work, but
you have your notes, but it goes, jokes sort of just like fly as they come, right?
Oh yeah, we watch the documentary. So if it's a 90-minute documentary, I'll watch it 2 or 3 times, just all the way through, and then I'll sit and take notes on it, which means that I'm stopping it. I'm not kidding, maybe every 5 to 10 seconds to write things down. So if it's a 90-minute documentary, conservatively, that'll take about 3 hours at the very least. At the very least, to do that, depending on how many people are in it, what the style of the storytelling is. Like, for example, if it's a series, the first episode is usually the most note heavy because we're meeting everyone, we're learning the details. So then I'll watch it at least twice again after that, just so that everything is, if we're telling the story, I don't want to misspeak, and I will misspeak because I'm human, but I want to, for my ADHD brain, I want to be able to sort of feel like I've seen it a bunch, so I just watch it a bunch. And then we don't talk about it before. Patrick's note taking or prep is much different than mine. So it's not like he's been immersed in it for a week like I have. It's not a bad thing. It's just he's lucky enough to, his brain just works much differently. So we don't really like chat about it. And then we get in the booth and just sort of like I'll notice things that he doesn't, he notices things that I don't, or he'll say something and then I'll be like, wait, so does that mean, or, whatever. So we're fortunate to not have to script and research in that way, other than like side googling, which I'll do occasionally.
Oh yeah, definitely. But what are some documentaries that you both loved or you loved and you would love to get to recap them, and what are some that were just like, this is terrible? Like, not the story itself, just like like whether you were bored to tears, or I don't know. I mean, there's a couple I've tried to watch along with you where I had to turn it off.
Totally. And that I hear you. I get it. Same. No, and there are some that are just sort of there are some that I just found in poor taste, like the Oxygen coverage of Natalie Holloway, I
Yeah,
thought was incredibly problematic and rude and disrespectful. They really stretched. It felt like a reality show where you like almost saw when people would say things, you could almost like see it on the page. You could like see the script, and they dragged it out for 6 episodes, and I thought that was really really disrespectful.
yeah.
Martha Moxley as well, their coverage of the Martha Moxley case.
Um,
Um,
I will say I'm particularly not a fan of the oxygen stuff. Anything oxygen does. Sometimes ID is a little better in my opinion, but sometimes they're a little sensationalized too.
yeah, you know,
Uh,
we struggled with trying to find uh really listening to our listeners and what they requested, and people really wanted us to cover the Natalie Holloway case. And so when we did that, it was rough because there wasn't really another one, and they, you know, so we try. I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, we chose what we chose, but
yeah,
I'm saying that like that, and then the Martha Moxley one, that's when we really took, I think we even said it on the air, like we really took a break from the oxygen stuff because we just felt like it was not productive in any way, and it just felt really um I'm going to use the word tedious, but I meant in their production of it. Like they could have told a story succinctly and respectfully, and they chose not to.
yeah,
And so that for me, by the time we get to episode 4 of this Natalie Holloway thing, where it's like they're flying people in and everyone's having these shocked phone calls, and I'm like, I didn't sign. I don't watch the Kardashians. Like this feels like a reality show, and it's a real. She's a real person, and we, you know, these horrible things.
yeah.
So we really tried to. We took a break from Oxygen, and we've covered them since, for sure, there's no question. But we have definitely tried to like vet them a little more, and I think we even say like this is, you know, they've grown, I guess, and they tried to do it right. But there are some cases that people really want us to cover, and for whatever reason, like the content is limited, so we try to, or sometimes I'll just say like, all right, Oxygen has this really shitty documentary on this thing. Dateline will do it eventually, someone will do it eventually, so let's wait until we can find a better produced version of what this is, so that we can kind of do it right, you
Well,
know.
well, also with the oxygen things where they tease that they're going to solve it. If they solved it, it would have been news.
I know, it's a lot of it
So
is just like, you know, like these big surprise bombshells, and it's like it's all
yeah,
fake, you know. It's just it's
yeah,
I don't mean to shit on them, because I really do think, of course, things were very problematic, and I had a lot of issues with stuff. And that Natalie Holloway thing, like, really, really, really upset me the way they did that. And I remember, I think we recorded that during the pandemic, if I recall. In my memory, I'm sitting in my old apartment with bags of ice cubes on my legs because it was the summer and I couldn't have the air conditioning on. If that's my memory of it. But I do think that they've maybe sort of grown and learned and changed with the times, because we have done some stuff since. But yeah, it's some of it's pretty painful.
So is that primarily how you go about doing episodes? Like you want to do a particular case and then you look for the documentary on it, or or is it a bit about like you'll watch a documentary and then one of you will watch and say to the other one, I want to talk about this?
Um, Kind of all of the above,
Yeah.
including things that come out, you know, like other, there are series coming out, or something will come out on Netflix or Hulu, and sort of everyone is getting into this world of making content about cases. Now, my concern is always like, okay, so like Gabby Petito is a good example. The Gabby Petito case happened, and there was, I think, a very valid conversation about how, for whatever reason, that case sparked, I mean, there are many reasons, but sparked this conversation about like, why can't we care about every case like this?
Hmm.
um and so while that doesn't take away from finding out what happened, like everyone is a person, everyone's story needs to be told, everyone needs to find justice. But there were a lot of episodes, or, you know, the Peacock documentary, which I think is the one we ended up doing, uh that were churned out really quickly for the sake of that streaming service to like be the one that put it out. before there was any real information. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little like, I don't love that. I would rather wait until there's some kind of conclusion at the very least, so that it doesn't feel like some kind of um I don't know, like we're jumping to any conclusions or doing it for the sake of doing it. So that's something that I sort of try to stay away from in things that we do. But yeah, it could be something that like, oh, this thing just came out, like Never Let Him Go just came out on Hulu. So that's being talked about a lot. And we're like, okay, well, let's try to get that on the calendar. But at the same time, like next week, something else will come out that's 4 episodes. And so, like, our Patreon, we've sort of, I remember the example I always use is Bad Vegan. Like, Bad Vegan came out at a time where, like, 10 other things, like Worst Roommate Ever and Tinder Swindler and all of
Yeah.
these things were coming out that people really wanted us to do and we wanted to cover. But especially on the Patreon, those are 3 4, I mean, they're at least 4 5 6 7 8 episodes, so like that's months from now. So by the time we got to Bad Vegan, it was 6 months after it came out, but it was
Yeah.
on the calendar immediately. But like so many other things had come out before it. So it really is all of the above. It's like sometimes Patrick will watch something and say, I really, really, really want us to do this, like the Patient Zero episode about the AIDS epidemic and the AIDS, quote, Patient Zero. Or sometimes, but sometimes we get requests. It's kind of, we're all over the map about it. But we
Yeah.
really try to be we really try to think and take care of what we choose.
Yeah. Well, there's one coming out that is sort of true crime adjacent, where it's the behind the legacy of unsolved mysteries, the show
Oh,
Unsolved Mysteries.
sure.
Whereas they're good, it's it's going to be October 4th. They're showing it in select like Alamo theaters,
Oh, it's in the theaters?
and now it's a deal with Alamo. They're showing
Oh, like
them,
Alamo Draft House. Okay.
yeah, but they're showing them in the theater October 4th, and or those theaters October 4th, and then 5th they're going to be on. It's going to be on Pluto TV.
Oh, cool. I have Pluto. I have that app. That's great.
So, but it's yes, Unsolved Mysteries Behind the Legacy, where it's basically that's the show I grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
That got me into like true crime and everything around it.
Yeah.
But
Wait, so is it a documentary or is it a documentary
documentary,
series? Is it's a one-off thing?
yeah.
Cool.
So, but it's
Good to
gonna
know.
talk like some behind the scenes stories, and I've heard. I don't know how much they'll get into it, but there's been some questionable. They, there's been some controversies with certain cases they covered and what they've decided to include in them or not include, and
Yeah.
for better quote unquote better television.
Sure. Yeah.
but but it's from like the people who created the show, and so
So it might be a little biased.
no, or I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood what you said. But
But
I think that's a good point because I know that Sarah Turney, she does the Voices for Justice podcast, and she's been
yeah,
really like changing the game and being very vocal about true crime content and its consumption and its creation because of her sister and everything that's happening. But there was I hope I don't get this wrong, I think it's a 2020 episode about the case, and she was tweeting all these things or posting on TikTok that like they weren't like Alyssa's family wasn't asked to be a part of it, and they got things wrong and they were making things seem different than what reality was. And you see something like that and you're like, shit, like what, like we have to figure something out in a way to like help get justice done because Sarah's been so vocal, and like because she's been so vocal, she's made so many steps in her sister's case. But at the same time, like then talk to her, like get your facts right if you're going to make this
yeah.
thing. So
But
is that what you're saying, that what Unsolved Mysteries would do? They would like
it
cherry pick kind of?
sort of
Yeah.
there's one um some friends of mine like I've connected with like through doing like old podcasts. They had a Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast where they would like talk about the recut version that was put out by Film Rise, and
Mm-hmm.
talk about certain cases and like give some like do the research and give some details that were left out.
Okay. Like
But
that came out like years and years later.
yeah,
Okay.
but they they had a Patreon exclusive that was Forgotten Few, where they would find the segments that were left out of the re-edits, which were taken out for like legal reasons, or like the statute of limitations had run out on some things, or the family asked for them to be removed.
Okay.
But there was one case. I'm gonna try to explain this as best as I can, because
Okay.
this could be a movie, what happened with this case. But there were these parents who went on the show and said that, who had these two children, had left them with the grandparents to watch them while they got on their feet for a time. And then they claimed the grandparents kidnapped the kids. And so they went on a, like, basically they made the grandparents wanted fugitives on the run with the kids. And so the parents were on there saying, like, we want to find, they've accused us of, they've lied to the courts. They said we were abusing our kids, we were doing this, we were doing that, and like we just want our kids back, and we don't know where they are. And it turns out that the parents were actually abusive towards the kid, and the grandparents had to take the kids on the run
Uh-huh.
to sort of protect that, and they kept, and they like, someone who was close to the situation knew about it, tried to contact Unsolved Mysteries when they got word that they were doing the case, and they said, like, no, we have, the producer told them, no, we have our story here. And so they ran with the narrative that
Oof.
these grandparents had kidnapped these kids. But it was, I don't know how good of a job I'm doing to explain, but it is this like convoluted
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
thing that should be that you think it sounds like a movie.
Yeah. But still the point is that they chose to not make any changes or do an update because
Yeah.
like
And but then
yeah.
when everything came out, and it's one of those segments that they, when they did a re-release of the show, they kept the segment out.
Okay.
So because there's several of those that, again, for legal reasons, or because the family requested, they're not in the show anymore.
Sure.
So, but
Yeah.
that I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll acknowledge that in the documentary, but there's instances where I know, there's another instance of a woman who went missing while driving across country, and they sent filmmakers and producers to where she went missing to film the segment, but then at the last minute they pulled out and decided, like, no, this doesn't um fit our narrative.
Oh.
Or no, or not, it's just, we don't think we can make anything out of this.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, that's shitty. I mean, I would hope that if we're going to be talking about what is it called? Like the legacy of what's it called?
Unsolved Mysteries Behind the Legacy.
I would think that maybe they'd say, look, things that they're a little honest about it. I would hope,
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the
there's no harm in that and saying all these years ago we did this thing, but we know now and
yeah, Unsolved Mysteries Behind the Legacy.
that's interesting.
So it'll be on Pluto October 5th.
Cool. All right, I'll check it out.
But
Can I ask you what inspired you to start this very podcast that we're on right now?
well, I mean, I used to, back when I was in the habit, I actually started it around, there were a couple of different incarnations of this, but like this one, for the most part, it started uh a little before quarantine,
Mhm.
with just me. Like, I knew some friends who were trying to just get on the microphone and talk. And I've been wanting to do podcasts for a while, so it started just me talking on a microphone about whatever, whether anyone found that interesting or not.
Yeah.
And then doing something where I'm talking to different people. Like I started out with friends of mine, then I tried to branch out into, authors, other podcasters.
Hmm.
That started primarily during quarantine. Just like me wanting some kind of human contact, some
Hmm.
form of human contact.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
And I've had, I work in a library and I'm a big reader, so I had, some authors on, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
I
I've
love
I've I've
libraries. I
I've
love
con
libraries so much. I love them. I
I've
love how they
con
smell. I love the smell of old books.
yes.
I used to work not like work, but I would go and edit like in my old 400 square foot apartment that Mike and I lived in for 10 years. That was really a studio, and it was crazy. But pre-quarantine, when I sat in the same place to like work, eat, and relax. It was like the edge of a couch, and it was like my little area. And I was like, I need to sort of like break. It was the only space we had. So I would go to the New York Public Library on 42nd Street and go into like the big research room and just bring my computer and just edit and my headphones. And there was something about being in a library that I thought was like, I just love libraries. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. I mean, I love working in one.
Yeah.
I actually work in just a smaller branch in our city,
Yeah.
but it's in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
branch.
I mean, I grew up going to that. I just love them. Like, I remember like the branch we had in Queens. Like, I love it. I can smell it now. Like, I just love it so much. It's just
Yeah,
like such a core and like sense memory, as they say, I guess.
yeah. And the branch I work in is in our international district, so there's a lot of um. It's in the neighborhood where all the refugees come when
Cool.
they come. So we get that crowd, and it's been interesting to work with them
Yeah, I'm
and try
sure.
to we yeah. I mean, it's just I've been there for coming up on 8 years now,
Wow.
and so yeah. I mean, at that one branch, but I definitely am looking for chances to like move around and just it took some time. I didn't start there until I was 33. Like up until then, I've been primarily like working retail and just jumping around and not knowing what I was supposed to do.
Yep.
But
I hear that.
so it started with, it took till I was 33. I just turned 41. So
Happy belated.
well, it was last month.
Oh, yeah, happy
Well, remember,
belated. That still counts as belated, right?
right?
Yeah. That's not like too late. Oh,
Same day as
libraries.
Madonna's.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because
Congrats.
I was, I was gonna try to record with you then, but it's
On
yeah.
Madonna's birthday specifically.
What?
On Madonna's birthday specifically, and your birthday, you wanted to record. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
that is so kind.
What?
I would have loved to spend your birthday with you.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a couple months late, but I'm doing it like I did last year and celebrating it at Obsess Fest. So,
I mean, it is a party. I have to say.
right.
What was your
Yeah.
favorite like paddle, or like what did you do that you really loved last year?
Well, I mean, most of all, just getting to meet everyone.
Right? That's same.
That was my favorite part of it. But I mean, I like the live shows. I want to. I mean, the panel you did with Bob Ruff and Damien.
Yeah.
The
Thanks.
I think
And
I
again,
missed.
that was Bob's panel. I don't want to feel like I
Yeah,
don't
I
want
mean,
people. Yeah, that was Bob's panel.
yeah, you said it on. I think I miss Rabia's the one with Rabia.
Yeah,
I
and
uh,
Rebecca. Yeah.
I managed to make it to some of the Taylor Swift sing along.
I have to tell you, that was really, really fun. I didn't know how it was going to go. It sort of just came up randomly. And I was like, I guess if I don't know, I was really, really nervous about it. But
Well,
what did you,
was that your idea?
it sort of came out of like, well, what if we just did? And I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll do that. And it was like, well, maybe we'll do, I thought maybe it would be like a guilty pleasures sing along, which even though I don't believe in guilty pleasures, I thought it would be like a 90s or just like a one hit wonder or some kind of like fun poppy thing. And then it was kind of, well, what if we just make it really specific? And I was like, well, a Taylor Swift sing along, I think would be fun, but it's up to everyone else if they agree. Natalie was like, yes. And so I made this playlist, and I have to tell you, it was, I mean, tell me about your experience. I know for some, you said some of it
Oh God, I don't.
because things are like,
Yeah,
what's the word? Like staggered, right? Like the schedule is sort of like
yeah,
something can be from 3:15 to 4:30, and then something could start at 4:15, and then you sort of, you can come and you can float around
yeah,
from event to event.
yeah. I mean, I didn't fully participate. I just did more observing, but it was it appeared to be a lot of fun.
Really fun.
If I think like like my if I were to plan a sing along, I my go to would be boy band sing alongs.
Look, that is that yeah, was also on the table a little bit. I saw NSYNC in concert. Are you on, do you know what's happening? That there's like this a lot of conversation. I think they're teasing. I think there's going to be in like an NSYNC Backstreet Boys reunion tour. Are you seeing this?
Well, do you listen to Lance Bass's podcast, Frosted
I
Tips?
I don't, but I don't, but I follow him on TikTok, and he is like
I follow.
pointedly teasing us. Like he is very, he knows what we're thinking. Like he's listening. We're both bugged, Joe. Like he's listening to us now. Like I feel like whenever someone mentions NSYNC,
Well,
he's just
here's a
kind of like he has his antennas up, antennae.
a few things on Instinct like I want to talk about with you. Like yeah, Lance Bass has a podcast. He's been doing it for a few months now called Frosted Tips,
I love
where
it.
it's about he has boy band members. He's had some like girl pop
Sure.
that he's
Like
had.
who? Did he have anyone from Dream on? I'm just curious.
Dream.
Yeah. He
Oh my
loves
God, you're
me.
bringing
He
up
loves you
Dream.
not. Oh yeah. Joe, we
Yeah.
can do this forever. Like,
Oh my God. No one else has like brought. I loved that album.
right? It was
No
a
one
good
else.
record. They
No
what
one
was
else
their,
has brought them up in 20 years. I feel like, but no,
welcome
he
to my
has.
brain.
He's had like JC and Joey on like different episodes.
I mean, JC's my favorite.
Yeah, he's
So
had Justice for JC, right?
I mean, I think I always thought his voice was,
He's a better singer.
I thought his voice was killer. Like if
Yeah.
everyone, if you don't know, go back to Bye Bye Bye. That and Bye Bye Baby. That's
Nah.
JC. Um,
That note he hits and it's going to be me.
yes.
Yeah,
It's the same, but yeah, and that was sort of like he can do that little dip up. It's just,
yeah,
but he's also now, Lance is, and I want to hear a lot more about his podcast and also talk about like the girl groups of the late 90s, early 2000s. I also saw the Spice Girls in concert. Like this is a whole thing. But he's now like AJ from the Backstreet Boys is doing TikToks with Joey from NSYNC, and then
yeah.
like
I mean,
Chris
they're all
Kirkpatrick
friends.
is with, yeah, but they're all like doing and I'm like, this is, I don't know, maybe I'm too much in like Swift talk where I think everything is a code and everything is like a password and everything is an Easter egg, but I'm like, they are
Well,
winking at us a little bit too much, don't you think?
they did when they reunited at the VMAs. Who did they present the award to?
Taylor Swift. And I watched it,
Yes.
and we had the same reaction where she was like, oh my God, like, oh my God. And
She
Lance
pretty
gave
much
her,
called she pretty much called them out. Like you
and
guys got to do something now.
herself out because she is such a master of the Easter eggs where she was like, this means you're doing something, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Taylor, this is what it feels like to be a fan of you, where we all just keep wondering, like, what is she doing? What is she thinking? But the fact that they like, come on, I think something is a brewing, and I don't know. It better
But
not just be this one song that they're doing for that Trolls movie. Like, I hope they're not actually trolling us. I hope it's not that meta. I hope they just get their
well,
asses into some stadiums or whatever, so we can all see them. I'm dying for it.
but what I was getting at with bringing
Yes.
up Lance's podcast, he had AJ on for an episode, and at the end, AJ proposed to him. Backstreet Boys Instinct Stadium Tour 2024.
There's no way they would have kept that in the podcast if it wasn't
Yeah.
a conversation. And AJ, by the way, was my favorite Backstreet Boy. And there are photos of me somewhere, probably not digital because it was that long ago, but there was some talent show or something where I was like, I'm AJ, I call it, and I wore like the hat because he was always wearing a hat, right? He was always wearing like that, like some leopard print cowboy hat or something. But he was
Yeah.
like he was a really strong voice for the Backstreet Boys, and no one really talks about that either. Like AJ killed a lot of those solos.
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm
love
gonna.
this.
I don't know if I've admitted this on the podcast with anyone else. I tried to start a boy band in high school. I was in high school back at that time, and
Stop it.
me and a friend wanted to start a boy band, and I was like, I tried
Do
to
you know the
call,
choreo?
I tried to call it like I'm gonna be the AJ of the group. So
He just
yeah,
felt like the most chaotic and the most fun, and I think he a
yeah.
thousand percent was.
I don't have his voice, but well, I mean, but then he ended up finding out we found out he was too much. Like he had to go to rehab. He did have
Okay.
the
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
substance
Well,
abuse issues.
okay.
But
Well, he's doing great now
yeah,
from what I can see. But okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it
I was just learning all the choreo. Every little thing I do.
yeah,
I mean, I was and I was learning like the Britney choreo, the Christina choreo. Like I was just so in that
mm,
world. And then like Destiny's Child. I mean, so my one of my best friends from high school, Eric, who I'm still incredibly close with. We just saw Billy Joel. He was a big Billy Joel person, and he took me like for my first time seeing Billy Joel.
yeah,
Good luck to him. He knows how to perform, that guy. I mean, he played the hits. It was amazing. It was so much fun. But we had like in our lunchroom in high school, our tables weren't like nailed to the ground or anything, so they could move. So we used to reenact like say my name, say my name video, because if you remember, the say my name
hmm,
video was them like moving
yeah,
into rooms and out of rooms. So
yeah,
I would be like posing on a table and he'd be pulling me, and then Eric would be like my turn, and then he'd be like posing on a table, and I'd be like, I'll be Kelly Rowland, and like pulling each
yeah.
other. It was just it was a
Did you
really fun time to
did you
be in
have
that pop world.
did you this just brought back a memory too. Did you have something in your high school called Senior Slave Day?
No, Joe, that sounds horrible.
I know that sounds horrible.
I went to a high
Yeah.
school. I graduated with like 42 kids in my grade, so I didn't go to like a real high school with like
Like
a
a
football
public
team
high
or
school.
anything. No, but it was like really, really small. So we didn't have like prom king or queen or any of
All
that
right.
stuff. Like we didn't have what is it, another word that people say that I'm like what like superlatives or something. Like we didn't
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of that, or like the regents, like stuff like that we didn't do.
Yeah, I know the word slave is problematic. So it's probably not called that anymore.
I hope not.
But
God.
the premise is members of the senior class could volunteer to be auctioned off to underclassmen.
Joe, this is bad. Like this is not good.
I'm going to tie it all back in, but like
Okay.
you just brought up this memory, but we could be auctioned off, and we would. The premise is like whoever got us could. We would have to like carry, like walk them from class to class or do whatever they said.
Mm-hmm.
And so these two girls I volunteered for, these two girls got me. They I came to school like we were they designated us to like meet up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning before school, and they brought in like this like sandwich board sign, and
Uh-huh.
wrote, "I will sing and dance to any Backstreet Boys or NSYNC song if you say sophomores rule." It was something like that.
Okay.
But and Bye 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 had my senior year I'm class of 2000. Bye 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 had just come out, so everyone was asking me to sing Bye Bye Bye.
It's an
But
excellent, I mean, I think that is that era. I think that album, I think No Strings Attached is like maybe one of the best pop albums of all time. Not the best, but maybe one of the best, maybe the best. I don't know. I also think Baby One More Time is one of the best pop songs of all time. Like that was just a golden age.
yeah, but
But I
we
really hope they change the name of that week because that's really racist and shitty and problematic.
if they even still do it
Like,
or
yeah, can
something
we
like
not?
it.
Yeah, yeah. And also hazing is shitty. Like all of that, like because you're older, you need to like make people do. That's just very. I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, no, it was a chance for the underclassmen to get back at the seniors
Uh-huh.
for whatever, because the seniors are apparently dicks. But
Yeah, it's like also don't be dicks to the freshmen. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, looking back, it's definitely problematic. But it's one of those things like you just not thinking about it at the time, and everyone was just being silly at the time.
right.
No one got hurt. It was just
It's just like a perfect example of like just because this is how things have been done for so long, like doesn't mean
yeah,
it's the right thing to do. You know, it's
exactly.
just
So
people are
that I
just
mean
it's like
that's
ingrained. It's like it's just a shitty thing. Don't do it. But then people sort of lean into like it's tradition. And I'm like, no, don't do that. No,
yeah, but I
stop.
mean the point is we grow and like we learn these things. So
100%.
so
And the
uh
point is there may or may not be
you
an
just
NSYNC slash Backstreet Boys reunion.
I mean just talking about this that just brought back that memory. So
Like that's it because they were part of all of that. Like that
and I
something is
was like,
afoot, Joe. I'm telling you, something's going on.
well, no, I also remember at the time like I was into it like before it was cool for guys to be into it or for guys to admit it. Did you experience that like the whole boy bands are for girls thing?
Um, yes and no. Like I knew, I definitely knew straight guys who were into that whole thing. But I know that like I don't know, not to be a jerk, but like society was kind of telling everyone that it was like for girls. But
Well,
I
yeah,
didn't really
well,
subscribe to that, and I had friends who didn't really. So it was kind of like, oh, we can talk about the same music. That's fun. You know, it's kind of it's like
well,
just like the Britney song. Britney isn't for girls, and also Britney was like, now if we're gonna get into it, Joe, like Britney and Christina were like they were marketed for their sex appeal to men.
mhm.
But then there were girls who were just like, no, like I love that she's sexy and I love that. But don't tell me that that schoolgirl outfit was for me. No, it wasn't.
Well,
So
but
like you can't market these groups or these artists to young straight girls, which I'm not. I mean, I'm bi, so
yeah,
obviously I had my own motives. But and then like make fun of the guys for listening to the artists that they're, you know what I mean? Like
I mean that. Well, I
it
mean
just feels crazy.
that was just my experience for it. Is because it was also at the time of like the Limp Biscuits and supposedly
Yeah.
the groups of dudes were supposed to
It
be
was like
into
the response to, I mean, we covered this in the
Woodstock.
Woodstock thing,
Yeah,
right? And like, and I do think, and we got in a lot of trouble in the Facebook group about it because people were saying like, you know, I love Corn and Corn really saved them and helped them in a lot of ways. And
yeah,
Jonathan Davis has written songs about his trauma, and I think that's great. I do. And Jonathan Davis was not doing the things that like Fred Durst, you know,
yeah,
noted not great guy was doing, but they were part of that whole scene where it was like you they were kind of trying to be the antithesis of like the pretty, which I don't even love that term, but like, you know, and they were very curated. Like Lou
Yeah.
Pearlman, another documentary we covered, like they were, it was like the Monkees. Like the Monkees were the first boy band, and people don't know that. Like I love the Monkees. I grew up watching them on Nick at Night reruns, but the Monkees like were a band. If you guys don't know who the Monkees are, a band in the 60s who had a TV show, and they were all like cute and fun and funny or whatever, and they were
I
like
mean,
supposed to be like manufactured as like
it,
a like an American response to the Beatles.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And then they all were just like, no, but we're artists and we want to play our instruments and want to write our own songs. And now they're artists in their own right, and they've written so many albums. And I know Mickey Dolenz a little bit because of just craziness, but like it's that whole thing where it's like, no, and then like they like, but if you look back then in the 60s when this was happening, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't all of this stuff that we have now, where everyone was just like, we hate the Monkees, we love the Beatles. It wasn't like team Monkees versus team the Beatles. Like Mickey Dolenz and John Lennon were the founding members of the Hollywood Vampires. Like, which is, if you look up the Hollywood Vampires, they would go to this amazing fucking bar in LA called the Rainbow Bar, which I love. Every time I go to LA, I make sure we go like any night we can. I love it. But it's like Alice Cooper and all of it, but it's like you wouldn't think that Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees and Alice Cooper and and all these people would be friends, but like, hey, guess what, they were. So while you're fighting about them and like making assumptions about like who they are and what they do and the music they make, they were just friends getting hammered at Rainbow.
That's what the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC are today.
Totally. And they're all, the fact that they're all friends now, but it's
Yeah.
different though. Like the misogyny is very different because like Britney and Christina were pitted against each other, and you'll never see them in I mean, I hope to one day see them in a photo together, but I think it's a different
Well, no, they've
experience.
done stuff together. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, they
and I
were
think it's different because of Britney, but it's like it's all rooted in misogyny. Like how fun
right.
that like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC get to be like, isn't that so funny? But no one was actually like actively rooting against any of them. Like it was a very different response, you know?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I think like I've always heard the narrative like they hated each other. Like Britney and Christina hated each other, and members of the Backstreet Boys were fighting with members of NSYNC
Right. Says who?
and Lou Pearlman.
Right. Like some actual person who's like planting this stuff. Like you can't believe anything. I mean, that was the way what the original like the Temptations, right? Believe none of what you believe none of what you read and half of what you hear. Come on, they've been saying it since the
Yeah,
60s.
yeah. Well, but I mean, you talked about like the Beatles versus I've never heard. I've always heard Beatles versus the Rolling Stones.
And that, I mean, that was another, and talk about apples and oranges.
Yeah,
I mean, my God, like you can't get any different. And I think because people, I think that it started in America because it's like, oh, the British invasion. But it's like, look at the two of them. They're doing amazing things.
yeah. But do you
Like,
also
who
like?
cares?
Are you into like the other bands from that time, like the Kinks?
I do. I like
Mm,
the Kinks.
yeah,
Totally.
like they were
Yeah,
in.
respect and love them. Could I like spew knowledge about them? Not really, but yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, they were part of that scene too. But like, why? Like, they're not in. They're kind of like the 98 Degrees. Like they
Oh,
were in that. They were in that
and
scene.
Peggy. Yeah.
And what?
And Peggy. It was just like a Hamilton reference where it's just like
Oh,
the third one where it's like, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it was like the Beatles four, the Rolling Stones, the four of them.
five.
But to me, that's so, and even like Christina and Britney, they're so different. And to me, even the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they're so different. Like if
Yeah,
stepping back now, maybe at the time it felt like they were very similar. And if we were to like put videos side by side, like I'm thinking about the I Want It That Way video where they were all like walking towards us and it was blue, like blue kind of coated. And
yeah,
then the Bye 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 video is they're all in that room and it's very like blue lights and they're all kind of like the wide angle lens and like the same director probably did them both. But taking a step back, like
well, I
why couldn't we like all of it? I just don't get it.
well, I mean, I liked all of it too. I was where was I going with this? I
Sorry.
totally lost my train of thought on
I
this.
know. I'm sorry. I just get very
No, no, no,
riled.
no. It's
I'm talking about NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, the Monkees, the Rolling Stones,
yeah.
98 Degrees.
What I was going to say is like talking about like how people talk like we're talking about how they sound similar. I mean, you also hear the stories like they had the same songwriters, and it was just you know NSYNC got some songs that the Backstreet Boys didn't want or didn't work for them,
Or
and
they passed on them, like
yeah,
they would get song,
yeah, and like
so
you
funny.
you remember
Good.
Five?
Baby, when the lights
Yeah,
go out. Are you kidding me? Like,
there's this. Did you ever hear the story of like two songs they supposedly passed on?
yes, I think Lance told that story. I think I know that from Lance's TikTok or something that they passed on
Bye
Baby
bye
When the
bye.
Lights Go Out. Or am I? Oh, no.
Oh
Oh,
no,
you're saying that
well
Five
no,
passed?
no. NSYNC passed on when the lights go out,
Yeah. I think Lance told that
and then
story.
five. That's from the first episode of Frosted Tips where he has JC on.
So I think I saw it on TikTok then. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. NSYNC passed on when the lights go out, but then Five passed on Bye Bye Bye.
and now we're here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
and
that
I also heard Five passed on Baby One More Time.
really. But
And
didn't Five come out after Britney though? Or maybe they were just like coming through the Orlando.
well, Five was from England.
So how did they? Okay, my timeline is really messed up. I don't know how they passed on because. All right, great.
You and I should start our like a boy band history podcast. I
Like
could.
just try to get the timeline of like who did what, who
That's
was
one of my
given when.
podcast. That's one of my podcast ideas is talking like histories of boy bands,
Yeah,
and I
I
just
mean,
want to co-host.
I
But
just look and I love, and I think also like Pink is a major player in this because Linda Perry like wrote. I think she wrote Beautiful and then Pink said no or something, or she passed on it,
yeah,
or at least Linda Perry wrote Beautiful for Christina Aguilera. And I know that Pink and Christina have their issues that they have worked out, so I'm not trying to assign anybody anything.
yeah.
Um, and
Oh,
Linda Perry,
no,
like from Four Non Blondes, these
yeah,
writers are just like, and if they were back then believing in these singers and these groups, it's just like looking back, it's like how cool would it have been if back then in 2002 or whatever it was, um, we could have just all been like, how great is it that we have like two, three, four boy bands we love. We have six women artists that we love instead of like pitting everyone against each other.
yeah,
They could have taken over the world.
yeah. I mean the whole Backstreet Boys and NSYNC debate is coming back, and I'm just like, no, I'm not having any of it. I
And you know
mean,
why? Because they're not. Because
yeah,
they're on each other's TikTok. Like there's something going on, Joe.
yeah. Well, I mean, again, they're all friends, but and
Which I
again,
think is so great.
yeah, but again, I was going to say something, and I lost my train of thought again. I am that way.
No, I am that way. It is very
Uh,
mild, I promise.
I don't know, but yeah, I could make a whole podcast about because I like. You want to know who my favorite boy band is more than Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and New Kids on the Block?
Can I guess?
Go ahead, guess.
I'm gonna throw a boy band out there. O Town.
Throw no,
No.
they're okay, but no,
Okay. Didn't they do Liquid Dreams? Is that them?
yeah, and they did All or Nothing.
Oh, that I don't know. Um, all right, who's your
The
favorite?
Take that.
Old school. Old school British. I mean old school. I mean the
Yeah, but
original, that's Robbie Williams, right?
yeah, but do you know more than their
Radio.
But do you know more than their one hit here?
Um, I know that there was one more, but I off the top of my head, no.
I think they only had like one hit here. But did you like you never like gone and looked into the rest of their catalog? They got a new they
No.
they've been teasing they got a new single coming out tomorrow. They've been teasing it on social media.
Really?
Yeah, there's only three of them now though. Like Robbie
Okay.
Williams, I mean Robbie Williams reunited with them for an album, but and then they had another member who left, but there's three of them left now. But they got a new song coming out tomorrow.
Do they?
Yeah,
All right.
but
I'll check it out.
I mean they're one I decided to like look into their catalog more. It happened another thing during quarantine where I've always like I knew their one song in America Back for Good, and I've been
Oh
curious
yes,
like
Back for Good, of course.
yeah, but then I'm like because I see them on like a lot of lists for like best boy band
Hmm.
songs ever, and that song comes up, and I'm like I wonder what the rest of their catalog is like.
Right.
And then I just like went and looked for it, and I knew Robbie Williams was a member. I just went and looked, and like I got they become my favorite.
Yeah.
So I could I'm trying I'm trying to like tell all my friends about them who don't fully know about them. I want to get them big in America so they tour here,
Yeah. You know what?
but it's probably
It
not
takes a
gonna.
village, Joe. So
It's probably not gonna
tell
happen.
let everyone know.
It's probably, like they're over 30 years into it now. It's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But
sorry. They're gonna have to wait because we are here for the NSYNC Backstreet Boys reunion tour. Or maybe 90 degrees they can come to. But like we're all ready.
did you see? I saw a headline like 98 Degrees is attempting a comeback too now, and the headline they're joking like NSYNC reuniting is taking all the steam away from us reuniting.
All right, well then do it. Put the tickets like then everyone just do it. Stop doing the clickbait thing. Put the tickets on tour. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
What is my 2024 gonna look like? That's all I need to know.
I don't know. But I mean, yeah, there's just been too much. I watched they did NSYNC did Hot Ones, that YouTube show.
Oh, of course.
Like they
Yeah,
put
I saw the photo of it, but I haven't watched it yet.
yeah, I watched it like before we got on here today, but
Was it chaotic with all five of them eating?
not I mean not chaotic. It's I don't know. It was funny, but
It feels like a publicity thing. I'm sorry. It just right? Like,
they're doing too much for it just to be all publicity for one song.
thank you. This is what I'm
So
saying.
it's going
And
to happen.
Justin did it too.
And Justin's solo career is kind of feels
But
like
he was
it's
there. He did hot ones.
yeah, all five of them.
Yeah,
But I've
I think
seen
he's
like
realizing.
people comment like Justin's solo career is kind of on a downturn. Like there was talk like maybe his solo career was too big for a full reunion, but it's I don't know. His last album isn't like wasn't
Like, since
selling like
when?
huh?
Or I was gonna say, since when is he too big for anybody? But also, like, who cares? Like, just go have fun. And if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But like, don't tease us like this.
Yeah,
Come on. He was such a unicorn. Like, oh, Justin won't show up and Justin won't do this and Justin won't do that. It's like, okay, well, now that he's here doing this, don't
I don't know.
come on.
It's gonna happen.
Anyway,
It's gonna happen.
I think so too. I think you're right.
But well, Jillian, I could talk like this forever with
I
you,
know
but it is it is running a little late here.
it is.
I do appreciate you so much coming on and talking to me.
Oh my
Uh,
God. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I
And
really
I'm
I loved
and
it.
I'm honored you're honored. And
Of course.
I'm looking forward to seeing you at Obsessed Fest. And
I can't wait.
I am go again, I am not as shy as I was when I first met you, but yeah, it's good. This was great. I seriously want to talk to you about starting a boy band history podcast,
I
but
mean, a
I know you're a busy woman
little bit.
anyway, but it's something we can throw out into the ether.
Totally. Look, and
Mm.
I'll talk to you about it all weekend at Obsess Fest. And I really, I can't wait to hug you and say hi and do that with everyone else there. This was so much fun. It was such a nice,
Is
it was-
is it too late to suggest a panel for boy band history?
it is, I think, since we're like
Yeah,
a month from now, we will be there.
yeah,
But I don't know, maybe we can talk about a Lou Pearlman, just like the crime
yeah.
of artists who get famous very young. I don't know. There might be something there. I think we can maybe work on that.
Well, I mean that is like young artists getting screwed over. It's as old as
Yeah.
the industry itself, but Lou
Look,
Pearl,
Taylor had to re-record her masters. There's crime all over the
yeah,
music industry. It's not good. I mean, TLC and their famous behind the music where Left Eye says, like, everyone, now it's time to do your math. Like, here's how you can be
yeah,
on the top of the charts and not have any money. Like, the
yeah.
music industry is not great. So
But
I
if
don't
it,
know,
it
Joe.
it
Yeah,
seemed like Lou Pearlman took it to another level.
he did,
But
for sure. For
yeah,
sure. For sure.
but yeah, this was fantastic, and
Yeah.
um, yes, everyone. Thank you, Jillian, for joining me.
Oh,
Again,
thanks
I'm
for
honored.
having me.
You're honored.
I know.
I'm
And
honored
then
that you're
we could
honored.
do this, and then I'm honored that you're honored that I'm honored. We could
Okay.
just do this forever.
Yeah. I uh, I joked before I never know how to end these. So,
Oh,
uh,
same.
but everyone, thank you for listening. Uh, Jillian, where can people find you at on social
Oh,
media?
oh, sure. So I'm at Jillian with a G. Just spell it out like that. Like WITHAG. People say it's like Jillian Withag, whatever helps you. On everything. I'm on Instagram, I think. And I mean, I know I'm on Instagram and Twitter. And I think that's it. But yeah,
Don't
that's
you mean X?
no, I mean Twitter.
You know what?
um,
I haven't I was on I used to be on Twitter. I haven't been on in a while. I deleted my account. Like I don't do that anymore. But
yeah, no,
I'm
I'm like
hearing all
on
the
it.
things going on with Twitter now. So
Yeah, I'm not really on it, but I guess Instagram and then True Crime Obsessed is True Crime Obsessed podcast on Instagram. The Hamilcast is the Hamilcast on everything. My husband Mike has a podcast that I produce. It's a comedy podcast. It's Ted Michael reads sketches into microphones. Um but yeah, if you just go to jillianwithag.com, I think that should direct you to a link tree and then you get everything from there.
yeah, and you're gonna have to the listener, you're gonna have to dig into the True Crime Obsessed feed for this. But I also want to recommend the series you did called "Let the Women Do the Work."
Oh, thanks. Oh, thank
So
you. Yeah,
where
that
that
was an honor to do. So,
yes, you talking to like I know Lori Davis and Maggie
mhm.
Freeling and different women in true crime who've done
Yeah,
that
Connie Walker and Gemma
yeah,
from The Keepers and just women who, stories maybe got a little bit lost, that they weren't the focus of it.
yeah,
Um Anna Vasquez from Southwest of Salem. So, thank you for bringing that up, Joe. That's very kind.
yeah. And yes, thank you for listening, everyone. Jillian, I will see you at Obsess Fest
Yes, can't wait.
a month from now.
Oh my God,
It's the
it's
20,
fast
yeah.
approaching. All right. I can't wait to hug everyone. See you
All
soon.
right.
Come say hi.
Oh, definitely. Uh all right, take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.